a recording of the workshop to upload to our YouTube as well. All right, so once again, welcome, and we are going to get started. Okay, so
Dr.
today we are talking, yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had a
No problem.
question.
Sure.
The YouTube video is gonna be on the Alabama A&M.
So we have, the Writing Center has a YouTube page, a YouTube channel, sorry, and that's where we upload our videos to the Writing Center YouTube page. And if you go to the Writing Center webpage, which is on, yeah, if you go to our page on the university website, we have the link to our YouTube page off of our site as well. So you can access it from the university page because our website is off of the university page. And there's a link from there to our YouTube page as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions before we start? All right. So this presentation that we are doing today is actually in partnership with Career Development Services. So some of the slides that you will see are those that you might see the Career Development Services present elsewhere on campus. So we are not plagiarizing, we are in partnership with them. And you can also check out Yvette Clayton's presentation that she did for the Writing Center last year in the right place on our YouTube page as well. And as I said, that is located on our YouTube channel, which you can access from our website, which is on the university page. Now, I want to say a word about Career Development Services. They offer many, many services for A&M students that you should be taking advantage of. And she actually goes into detail in her presentation about the services that she offers to A&M students, from helping you to know how to dress for success, how to do an interview, how to engage with employers. Of course, they do employee and career fairs. They help you to prepare for those. There are so many resources on Career Development Services webpage that you absolutely have to go there. There's an entire process from your freshman year all the way through your senior year that you must go through in order to be prepared for graduation. And all students have to have a resume before they graduate. So you really do have to go to their site and get plugged in, and you need to start from day one. So you need to get to know Miss Clayton and her team, and we work in conjunction with them to get you prepared for to get your resume up to speed. So I just need to make sure that you're aware of that. I know she had some workshops going on a couple of weeks ago, some webinars. Of course, because of COVID-19, a lot of things have been adjusted, but just want to make sure you're aware of the services that they offer and that you're taking advantage of them, and to let you know that we do work in partnership with Career Services to get you ready for the workforce. So what we're going to talk about today is building a resume. That's what we're focused on specifically. And we're going to focus particularly on the traditional resume. We'll talk a little bit about other types of resumes, but we'll kind of focus on the basics for now. Now, there are two commonly used resume formats, particularly in Huntsville, because we obviously are right here where the Redstone Arsenal is, and a lot of the jobs that come available for our students are government jobs. A traditional resume is the one that is most often requested by employers. Non-government employers, the first question is, do you have a resume? Which is why we stress how important that is from day one. Yes, from the time you graduate from high school and hit the college campus, that's the first thing we say, got to get yourself a resume. Even if you think you don't have a lot of experience, you got to put something together, because you just got to have it. The resume, the traditional resume is just a broad overview of your accomplishments. It can include select information, and it does include select information that's very tailored to the type of job or internship or opportunity that you're pursuing. You don't need to put on there that references are provided upon request. The assumption is that they will be provided when they are requested. So that's something that can be left off. And typically a traditional resume is about a page. Now, as you go up in your experiences, and there are other types of resumes for sure. When you're in academia, a resume is called a CV or curriculum vitae. But at this point, if you're just doing sort of the basic resume and you're just coming out of high school or you're in the first couple of years of your college experience, a one-page resume is all you need. Now, government resume is a whole different animal. We're not going to get into what that exactly is because it is entirely something else. It is going to be much more detailed. It'll be much more specific to the needs of the particular government agency that you're applying to. Most federal jobs are posted in usajobs.gov, and they have very specific requirements. There will be much more specific information that is required. It's just a whole different thing, and we're not going to really get into that today, but just know that a government resume is not going to look the same as a traditional resume. And so, yeah, don't be intimidated by that when you go to apply for a government job. So particularly when we think about a traditional resume, particularly if you're a student coming straight out of high school, let's say, it's going to look different depending on where you are at your academic level. So you want to first think about where you are. If you're a freshman, your resume is going to look different than if you're a sophomore. And you absolutely have to continually update your resume as you go along. So, you know, as you get more classes under your belt, as you get more experiences under your belt, you're going to need to continually add those things to your resume so it stays current. Your resume will be in reverse chronological order. So the way that you put things on there will be with your current experiences first, and then working your way backwards to those things that you did in the past. And in particular, you want to make sure, so when you're coming in as a freshman, your high school stuff is going to be on there, but you want to very early on get some college experiences under on your resume, and that high school stuff has to drop away after your freshman year. So as much as possible, if you have work experiences and extracurricular activities that you have been involved in, those are the things you really want to highlight, more so than you were the, you know, president of your senior class and you were on, you know, you were voted most popular, you know, cheerleader or whatever. Because once you get to college, all the high school stuff really drops away. And so you want to make sure that you get involved in as many college organizations, and of course you want to get into your college courses as soon as possible, because those are the things that employers are going to be looking at. High school was great. I know we all had a good time, but it really isn't going to be looked at pretty much ever again. I know that's painful for us to understand, but it's true. It's just going to be valuable in terms of our memories, but not so much in terms of our employment. So it's really important when you get to college to jump in with both feet and get involved in activities, organizations, in your major clubs and things like that, because those are the things that are going to really be important on your resume early on. Definitely apply for those internships in the summer, because those are the things that are going to need to be on that resume. You also want to focus on accomplishments versus duties, and we're going to talk about the language of that needs to be on the resume in just a little bit. You want to quantify whenever possible, and definitely spell check and grammar check. Really important, because you're representing yourself, and you want to make sure that you're representing yourself as someone who is educated and articulate. So grammar does matter. All right, so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Now, when you speak about the activities that you're doing, that you have done, you want to speak about your current job in the present tense and your past jobs in the past tense. So verbs are going to be really important, and action verbs are particularly necessary. you want to also look for ways to describe your experiences, and you want to think about all of your experiences. So a lot of times students come in and they're like, I just graduated from high school. I had a babysitting job and I cut grass in the summers. That's pretty much it. But you'd be surprised. I've had conversations with students and I'm like, well, let's talk a little bit more about things that you've done. And as we've talked, they discovered that they've actually done more than they thought. And so think about all of your experiences, paid and unpaid, and consider them maybe a little more deeply. So class projects, volunteer, community service, internships, co-op, military, athletics, all of those things count as experience and can be used on a resume to show what you are able to do. And so that is what we mean when we talk about experience. It's not just paid work, it's experience, and it's skills. Skill building is what matters, and it's how we talk about it that's going to really demonstrate your value to a potential employer. So these are some of the words that are going to really help as you talk about what you might offer to a potential employer on your resume. Use action words. So organized, launched, conducted, collaborated, prepared, initiated, developed, planned, increased, evaluated. These are words that indicate that you were actively involved in the work that was going on wherever you were. Maybe in your mind, you were just babysitting, or you were just the camp counselor who was running around behind those bad kids at summer camp. But think about what that involved, and maybe one of these action words can better describe the skills that you had to employ to do that work. Now we might be able to paint a better picture that really shows the value that you added to that work that you were involved in. And that's really what we're going for. Okay, and so now when you think about what your resume is meant to do, your resume is meant to demonstrate what you're capable of doing, and it is meant to get your foot in the door for a particular position that you're applying for, whether it's an internship or a particular job. So you want to align your resume with the particular position that you are applying to. So you want to look at what it is that the particular job is that they're applying to, what it is that they're looking for. So what is it that they have described that they are wanting in an employee or in an intern? And the language that they use to describe that person that they're looking for is the same language that you want to use in the resume that you're putting together. So use the industry verbiage that they have used in their description as you put together the resume that you are creating. And of course, as I said before, you're going to need several versions of your resume. First of all, as you add experiences, but also versions of your resume that will align with the particular positions that you're applying to, because the different experiences that you have may align differently with the particular positions that you're applying to. So that summer camp job that you had will be perfect if you're applying to some internship that has to do with working outdoors, but that time when you intern in the lab for your professor will align better with this other internship that you're applying to, right? So the different experiences that you've had are the ones that you're going to want to highlight for the particular positions that you're applying to. So you'll need to tweak your resume to fit with the particular positions that you're trying to get. Now, a government job accepts applications for multiple Government accepts applications for multiple jobs. Private sector is not as receptive. So you'll need to think about, if you're applying to multiple positions in one company, how that might look. Whereas, government agencies, if you're applying to multiple sectors of the same agents, government that may not be an issue, but you know, you want to be careful if you're applying to one company and different departments of that same company, the same people know each other and they're like, oh, Jane is applying to your department and my department, that could look bad. So be careful of that if you're,
Can I ask a
in the
question?
job, on the job hunt. Yeah, you have a question about that?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, what you already said, like when you said accomplishments versus duties, like I was active duty Marine Corps, and when
Hmm.
you say like accomplishments, does that you mean more so like awards, decorations, stuff like that, as opposed to
Yeah,
what
you
I
want to
was mentioning?
highlight that. Well, it's not either or though. So you do still need to say what your duties were, but you want to highlight what your accomplishments were while doing your duty.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we're going to look at some examples of that. So your resume will need to say what your job was. So you'll need to say what you did for the military. And then underneath that, you'll put a bulleted list of all the things you accomplished while you were in that position. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Definitely. Any other questions? So let's look at a job description and think about how we would construct our resume in response to a job description like this. Because I was talking about how we want to align our skills with the description that we find, a description that we find. I hear the little chime that says people are coming in. So I just want to quickly remind everyone, if you're coming in to the presentation and you didn't hear me say this before, please make sure that you put your name and email address in the chat so that I know you're here and I'm able to send you the slides and the link to the recording afterwards also, in case you missed the first part. So what we have here is a sample job description, right? And this company is telling you what they are looking for in a potential employee. So they are looking for someone who can develop project plans, identify tasks and milestones. They're looking for someone to drive assigned projects to completion, tracking results and exceeding expectations. They want someone to prepare and present capstone presentation to senior leadership, to demonstrate presentation and communication skills. Their preferred competencies are those who can demonstrate leadership attributes within classroom, projects, volunteering. They want someone with excellent verbal and written communication skills, the ability to communicate with all levels of management, someone with the ability to multitask and work with cross-functional teams. They want someone with experience using Microsoft Office Suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Outlook, SharePoint. Okay, so I don't know who's on this call right now, and I don't know what kinds of things you've done in your past, but if you can think about any of the jobs or classes or experiences that you've had, whatever they were, whatever jobs they were, whatever, maybe you were a stay-at-home mom and you've done stuff with Microsoft Office, Word, and Excel. Whatever it is, if you look at this job description and you think, oh, I can communicate well with people, and I know I've done some stuff that demonstrates leadership. I've taught a class, or I'm able to multitask. If you think of anything that you've done that aligns with any of these things in the job description, then what you want to do then is structure your resume to demonstrate that you can do these particular things. And if you look at those key words that they've used in the job description, you want to pull out those key words in describing what you have done, right? So you want to use words like develop and prepare and lead or leadership, right? These are the words that they've used in their job description, and these are the same words you want to repeat when you describe the work that you've done. Okay, those are those keywords that they have used, and those are the same keywords that you want to use. So here's what I would suggest that you think about as your formula when you're figuring out how to word the stuff that you're putting on your own resume. Okay, think of it like this. You want to have a stated action that led to a stated or at least a strongly implied outcome that equaled some benefit to the organization, let's say, that you were working for. Okay, so you're going to have some action word, organized, led, whatever the action word is that you did, and you want to have some statement or strongly implied description that led to some outcome that was a benefit to the organization. All right, that's the formula that I want you to keep in your mind. And let's look at how that might play out in an actual description. So let's see if the formula works. Okay, first of all, here's an example of one way we might put our work on a resume. Okay, so here's a person who was a sales associate, and they worked for Bulldog Sales from August to May of some year, right? And in this description, they said that they put merchandise on shelves, they used a cash register to process payments, and they helped customers. Okay, so there's an action verb put, and there's an action verb used, and there's an action verb helped. Do we feel like there was any stated or strongly implied outcome that led to any benefit in that description there?
Not really.
Yeah, right? Like, we know what they did, but that's it, right?
Right.
They put stuff on shelves, and they used a cash register, and they helped their customers. That's all we know. But let's look at the second example. We have an action verb, developed in-store merchandise displays to increase sales, operated electronic cash register, and consistently balanced a till of $200, ensured that customers received outstanding service by providing a warm greeting and providing prompt checkout service, took initiative to learn about major products in order to help customers solve problems. What's the difference with these descriptions of the sales associate?
They feel a little stronger and like
What made
more detailed and like more like it led to an outcome for like whatever they were working for, whoever they were working for.
exactly? We have an action verb that led to an outcome that led to a benefit that equaled some benefit to the company that they worked for. If I am looking at your resume, I want to hire you if you're going to do action that leads to some outcome that will benefit me. That's the whole point of me looking at your resume, is that I want to know if you're a person who will do action that will lead to some outcome that will in some way or another benefit me. And the only way I will know if you will do that is if you've done it before, right? And so if you're just the sales guy who puts stuff on the shelf and uses the cash register and helps customers, I'm not really convinced that you're going to do much else. But if you demonstrated that in the past you've done something that was actually beneficial, and you can give me specific like numbers, like you actually balance you kept up with money, like an actual amount that I can see, and specifically, now I'm like, okay, you might actually be even trustworthy. Right? So now I have something really tangible that I can hold on to, and I may be willing to give you a chance. So that's the difference, and that's what it is that you're trying to accomplish with a resume. You're trying to give them a specific enough information that they feel as though you're worth taking a chance with. And they're going to look at your resume in, they're not going to spend a lot of time. So you need to do this in a way that is efficient enough that they can tell quickly that, it's worth taking the chance on you. Now, I know what you might be thinking, like, there's more words, and are they going to really read all of that? But you play with the language, because at the same time, if you didn't tell them enough, then they may not be impressed enough to even bother with you, right? So it's a little bit of a balance between telling too little and not giving them enough to care. And so there's other examples here with other types of experiences. So in this case, the language is still very much the same, but they've given still enough to demonstrate what was actually done. This one is an internship where they conducted research, created a database, and helped clients. But in this case, they demonstrated what they did, what it benefited, what the outcome was, so that the benefit is clear for the work that was done. And then here's another example to just show that it doesn't matter what the work is, the idea is still the same. Even if you're talking about a class project, it's not enough just to say, I did a class project about a sailboat, or I did a class project about teens triumphing in parenting. The idea is to demonstrate, what did you gain from that? What knowledge did you gain from that that could align with the work that you might do for this organization? So you see that in this description, it is, the writer is trying to demonstrate how this work that they did in this class project is in some way or another significant or relevant. So co-led a team of 6 with a budget of $20, organized a weekly status meeting, completed a project ahead of schedule. See, this is demonstrating a lot of skills, keeping up with a budget, staying ahead of schedule. These are skills that any employer is going to value. And this is a class project, right? Facilitated a session of 15 teenage mothers. When you have to manage people, that's something that is always valued in an organization. Taught them 5 ways to make parenting less stressful. 4-week post-service survey revealed ongoing effectiveness. So this is showing, multiple skills that were at work, even though it was a class project. Worked on a team of 8 that painted a rehabbed home. I promise you, no student enjoys working on a team for a class project, but you will always have to demonstrate the ability to work in a team environment, in a work environment outside of school. So as much as we hate team projects, group projects in school, believe it or not, they will benefit you at some point. So take advantage of the fact that you've had to work on a class project, and use that to your advantage on your resume, because to say that you worked on a team and you accomplished your task successfully could actually benefit you. The idea is to paint a clear picture of your accomplishments. And then the idea is to demonstrate how you successfully did that. So rather than saying you cleaned floors, how about say you ensure that the building was aesthetically appealing for employees? Again, think in terms of the benefit or the outcome. Rather than saying you increased downloads, why not say you developed social marketing strategies that increased awareness? And think in terms of the numbers. Again, we want to quantify as much as possible. The idea is that a well-written resume, can open doors. Again, you want to keep it to 1 page if possible. As best as possible, you want it to be error-free. You want to emphasize the strong accomplishments and clear responsibilities. It should be visually appealing and written in 3rd person. So here's an example of what I consider to be a strong resume. It's very visually appealing. You want to make sure you have good white space. You want your name to be clearly, seen at the top, and your contact information. You see her education is at the top. This is a very standard, traditional resume. She has her education at the top. Her GPA is also listed. I would encourage you, if your GPA is 3.0 or above, to put the GPA there. If it isn't, don't. Just don't list it at all. Put where you're in school and leave that there. The idea is to put your best forward. You want to get your foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, your personality will take over the rest. Put your best experiences up front. You want to articulate your objectives. You want to put your experiences in chronological order, beginning with your present work first, and then work your way backwards in order, listing the position, the company, your position, and then a description of what you did, and a description of what you did in that position. Now, she just has a summary of what she did in a little paragraph. You could also do bulleted lists, excuse me, of the duties or accomplishments as we were looking at in the other examples. But this is a very clean, polished example of a traditional resume. And, there's not one right way, but this is a nice example. Now, as I mentioned, not everybody takes the traditional route. And that's okay. Everybody has a different path. You have to customize your resume to suit your situation. If you have gaps in your resume because of periods of unemployment, a traditional resume may look suspicious. So you notice that her resume was in nice chronological order. She had one job and then the next, and there was no gaps in between in terms of the timeline. In order to represent yourself in the best light, use a skills resume rather than a traditional resume. So if you're not able to have a nice chronological timeline where you left one job and then went to the next, and then you went to school, and then you went to work, and then you went to school, or whatever, then you may need to format your resume a little bit differently. Instead of doing a chronological timeline type resume, you might want to group your resume according to your experiences and your strengths instead of the time in which things occurred in your life. So there are many reasons you may have long periods on your resume where you were not employed, or maybe when you were not employed in the field that you're seeking employment. So depending on the job that you're applying for, you may not want to show the chronology of the work that you did because, maybe you were working at McDonald's, and then you were working at, a technology company, and then you were working at the camp. But, maybe the experience is varied and it doesn't align perfectly with the type of work that you were applying to. Maybe you had circumstances in your life, illness, or maybe you stopped to raise children. Maybe you had to care for a sick relative. Maybe you were incarcerated. Life happens. Maybe you are doing a career change. There are various reasons why people have different scenarios or different chronology of things on their resume, and they may or may not be easy to explain to an employer that you are applying to. So the present goal is to get the job, whatever that job is. So what you need to do is look at your experiences and put the skills that you've required, the skills that are required, and the skills that you've attained side by side. How can you use what you've learned in the work that you've done to the work that you want to do. Based on what you've done and what you want to do, how can you make those two work together? And the idea is to be honest, not to lie. I would never tell anyone to lie. I'm just saying that based on what the job is that you're applying to, you pick and choose what it is that you put on the resume for the purpose that you are trying to achieve. No one says that you have to tell this employer your whole life story. You tell them what they need to know based on what it is that they need you to do for that job. And if you have the skills that they need, then the question is, how do you tell them the story that will demonstrate what you're capable of doing for them? So if you are able to describe the skills that you've gained, use that on your resume. If there is an uncomfortable past, leave that off of the resume. The resume gets your foot in the door. With your winning personality, you will have the opportunity to explain the rest when or if the time comes. So let's talk about the skills resume. The skills resume will look a little different from the traditional resume, as you can see in these examples. These are skills resumes where the people have highlighted the experiences that they've had. And notice in the example on the left, the Marcella has as her objective statement to help create high quality CD-ROM products in Matetics New Media Solutions Division. I don't know. She put the company's name in her objective statement, which is very smart. So you are catering specifically to the company that you're applying to. And then she listed her editing and proofreading experience. So she's speaking directly to this company, and she's listing the specific experiences that she's had that are relevant to that company. She's highlighting just after that her writing experience, her computer experience, her other business and management experience. So you notice she's not putting anything on here that has a date. Well, she has some dates here when she co-authored some of her writing, but it's all about the experience that she has that is relevant to this specific company. So she is tailoring what she's able to do specific to what this company is looking for. And in this other example, Allison Carnes has at the top of hers qualifications for writing creative ads that make people remember the product. So she's has a statement, an objective statement that's catchy, and then she has a bulleted list of her particular qualifications. Then after that, she lists her education, and then after that, she lists some of her experiences. And so each of these people, and then you see at the very bottom of her resume, she lists her education um, because she is highlighting first her qualifications, which she finds to be her strength. And so she has, each of these individuals has customized their resumes for the particular organizations or companies that they are uh, directing their experiences to. And they're not doing it according to the timeline that they did those, that they, you know, worked with. And then there's another example here. You may just be a kid who doesn't have much real world experience. And so this is CS Wiz, who has organized his resume according to his experiences. He has his education at the top. He's expected to graduate May 2015. He has the related courses that he's taken. He has a listing of a class project that he's done. He lists his technical skills. He has the current job that he's working, which is a related work experience, some on-campus involvement that he is involved with, and then a couple of things that shows some additional skills that he has that he lists there at the bottom. So you see, again, it's not the traditional, first I did this job, then this, then this, then this, but more so grouped around the particular experiences and skills that he has, which he wants to highlight. And so it works based on the experience that he does have. And so it again shows that the idea is that you take what you have and you tailor it for the audience that you're wanting to speak to, pretty much. Knowing what it is that they are looking for and how you can align what you have for what they need. And that's really what it's all about. It's really about getting your foot in the door. And I love this cartoon. Your accomplishments speak for themselves. Unfortunately, I'm completely fluent in exaggeration. So, of course, we're not promoting exaggeration. It's just putting yourself in the best light. So the last thing I want to talk about really quickly is the cover letter, because as I've said a couple of times, the goal is to get your foot in the door. And the reality is that employers spend very little time looking at resumes. They have a ton of resumes that come across their desk, and they do kind of flip through them very quickly. So the cover letter is that kind of one moment that you have to catch their attention that hopefully will make them look a little while at your resume when they might otherwise not. And so what a cover letter should do is make the employer say, oh, I actually might want to look at this resume because this person seems to really have the knowledge of our organization and our organization's needs. So I might want to take a moment and see what they're talking about. So it gives you an opportunity to speak more personally and directly to the employer about what makes you special, what makes you stand out, and why they should consider you. And in particular, what you want to do in your cover letter is demonstrate that you have what every employer values. And that's those soft skills, honestly, the ability to communicate and solve problems and work well with others. So this is where coming to the Writing Center really pays off, because this is what we do best, is help you with the soft skills. So in your cover letter, here's what you want to do. You want to begin by stating the position that you're applying for and summarizing your qualifications for the position. You're basically pointing them to your resume, like, hey, make sure you look at this. Make sure you pay attention to this, this, and this. You want to develop your major qualifications, and you want to be specific. This is the opportunity to tell the story of who you are. You want to relate your achievements to the work you'd be doing in this new job. So you want to kind of, you don't want to say again what you've said on the resume, but you want to kind of give a for example kind of scenario to help them understand what it is that you've listed on the resume. And then you want to ask for an interview. Be careful, because sometimes the cover letter can come off really prideful. Yes, you got to talk about yourself and talk about how great you are, but you want to make sure you're making the connection between your greatness and how you want to put your greatness to work for them. You're identifying what you know about the company and what you recognize that they are looking for, and you want to put what you have to work for them. And so you're just asking for an opportunity to do that. Tell them when you're available to be interviewed. I'd love to come talk to you sometime next week, because you're still at their mercy. So, you don't want to be demanding in your tone, and let them know that you're ready to begin work, on this, at this particular date and time. Again, making sure that your tone is respectful and not arrogant. It's very important to strike that balance. And you want to end on a positive, forward-thinking note. So here's an example of a good cover letter. It begins, Dear Addison, I'm interested in the position of regional manager announced in the February 24 issue. So you begin right off the top stating the purpose of the letter and your qualifications for the position. Okay, right off the top at the very beginning, you state the point. In the body of this letter, the person goes into the details of what he has done and what makes him qualified for the position. He talks in the middle about, he's a highly qualified, and he gives specific examples of what makes him highly qualified. So it's not enough to say I'm highly qualified. You have to give an example of what makes you highly qualified. I did this, I did this, I did this, right? And then he ends with, in the last year as a financial sales representative, I've used my persuasive and sales skills to help clients develop financial plans, choose the best investment products, da 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 da. Could we set up an appointment? He ends this way: I'll be in New York March 23rd through 27th and would welcome the opportunity to talk about ways I could put my experience and drive to work for you. So it's a respectful, here's when I'm available. I want to do this thing for you. So it's still that I'm doing this for you kind of thing. It's not like, hey, when you want to meet with me, I'm awesome, So you got to be careful of balancing that I'm great with I want to do something for you kind of tone. And then what we usually recommend is putting the contact information at that in the end as well. In that last paragraph, I can be reached at this phone number or email address or something like that, so that it's easy for them to reach you. And what we put at the end of our presentations is how you can reach us. And this is our email. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, that's the website address, aamu.edu/writing center. We are here for you as well. Are there any questions? If not, please make sure that you have put your name and email address in the chat, and I will send out the link to the YouTube once it's uploaded, and I will send out the slides for this presentation as well.
All right.
Thank you for coming. I hope it was helpful, and good luck with final exams. I know we're coming down to the end of the summer semester, and for those of you who are looking for jobs, I wish you much success.
Yes, ma'am.